Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Changing Lanes with Coach Williams. I am Cassandra Williams of Cassandra Williams Enterprise, your victory coach and the founder of Wise Wives Build. If you guys can do me a favor, take a moment and subscribe to this channel so that you will be notified whenever we have some more amazing content that is coming out for you. So, guess what? Grab your Coke, grab your water, grab your tea, grab your coffee, whatever it is that you are drinking at this moment. But yeah, stay hydrated. It's hot out here, okay? But listen, all right, we're going to jump right into our episode for today. So, have you ever had to go back to the store? You bought an item and you had to go back to the store and you had to exchange it for something else. Maybe it was too small, it was too big. Maybe you just got home and you had made an impulse buy and you was like, I just don't want it anymore, right? And you had to go back to the store to make an exchange. And so in life, sometimes we have to make exchanges. God made an exchange for us. If you really think about it, our very salvation was a great exchange, right? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Because when Jesus came, he came to die for our sins, which was the great exchange. We had this savior, right? Who had no sin, who did nothing wrong, none of those things, came to die for a flawed people. Yes, I am the flawed people. Some people may not believe. That's okay. That's your preference. But for me, I knew I needed a savior, okay? And so he did it for me. Okay, listen, it's personal for me. He did it for me. So I'm grateful for the exchange. And so today we're going to be talking about those times in our life where we have to make a great exchange. We have to exchange those things that we have been holding close to our heart, those things that are near and dear to us. And then God is asking us for those things, okay? And so I have a whole event that is centered around this right here. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, okay? And so what is the great exchange? The great exchange is a place where we come into to exchange some things. God may ask you for something and then but he's going to give you something in return. That's the thing that I want you to take away from today. Anytime God asks you for something, he's trying to give you something else. He's trying to give you something greater. He's trying to give you more. Sometimes he may ask you for that car. He may ask you for that house, those material things. He may ask you for your unforgiveness. He may ask you for your dreams. He may ask you for your career, but it's not to harm you. It's not to hurt you. He may ask you for your spouse, right? Because sometimes, listen, we have that's mine. It's mine. We have that inner 3-year old that's holding on for dear life that it's mine. And God is saying, if you give it to me, if you just give me that thing, I have something so much greater for you. And so we have to make an exchange with him. But can I be honest? Most of us have looked at that situation, that scenario, and we're always looking at what's in our hand. We're looking at what we have, and we've been taught you hold what you got because you don't know when you're getting something else. Sometimes we're so used to being on the struggle bus that we don't know. We don't, listen. We just gonna stay on the struggle bus. We forget that you can get off of that bus and get on another one. Anybody ever been on MARTA? Anybody ever been on public transportation? If the bus is going in the wrong direction or you don't want to be on that bus, there's another one. Get off the bus. Get off, right? And so at the Great Exchange, this will be our third year. It's a women's empowerment weekend where we get married ladies, single ladies, busy professional women, pastors' wives, all kind of women together, and we come into a room. And we start off by just laying it all out before God. Friday night is all about prayer, emptying out so that we can be refilled, refueled, revived to go back into our lives, right? And so the first year was God had given me the example. I was studying one day and we were talking about the woman that was caught in adultery, right? And we get excited, right? We're talking about changing lanes and all of that, right? So we get excited that this woman was caught in adultery, and he said, "He with that with is without sin cast the first stone," right? And he was like, everybody began to drop their stones, and he said, "Woman, where are your accusers?" Right? And we just dance, we shout, well, for me, God had given me a different perspective of that, right? And so, for those of you that are listening by way of podcast, go over to YouTube, subscribe there too, because sometimes you're going to get a visual, right, that you won't be able to see. But I'm going to try to paint the picture for those of you that are listening in, okay? So, when I read that story and they said, that they were throwing stones, right? When I see stones, so for those of you on YouTube, you're going to be able to see this, right? When I see stones, I think little small, um, pebbles, if you will, right? So we have this little stone. This doesn't do very much damage, right? Unless you're David with a slingshot bringing down a giant. Now, this right here may be, a deadly weapon in his hands. But for most of us, if I throw this at you, it's not going to do any damage, right? But what God showed me was, he said, in actuality, when they were getting ready to stone them, they had something like this right here, right? And so that particular year, God had me on a mission to help the women put down their stones. And what we did was we wrote on here all the things that we had been carrying, all the things that we had been throwing at people that we were using, especially women concerning their husband, that sometimes we were using the word of God like this brick right here, right? This stone, and we were throwing it at our husbands. We were throwing it at our children. We were throwing it at our coworkers, and we were about to stone them to death. And so that year we had to make a great exchange. And so we had to come in and we had to, on this particular one, it says rejection, feeling like my heart is broken, feeling low self esteem, trust issues, doubt. They wrote low self esteem again. So listen, that was a big one if they wrote it on there twice. Disappointment, right? And so we had to leave all of that at the altar. We had to make a great exchange. And in us making that great exchange, God gave us something else in return. Because when you change lanes, you can't keep carrying all the things that you've carried before. You have to be willing to give some things up. You've got to be willing to let some things go for the greater good. Sometimes, listen, you're going to have to be able to give up your right for their wrong. I know that. Ouch. I know that's a hard one to do, right? To know that they're wrong, but you know you're right, but you gotta listen. You just gonna have to do it, right? And so that particular year, the exchange was, God was like, if you will give me that brick, I will give you. So now I have in my hand a key ring. It says the Great Exchange, and it has two keys on it. And these two keys represented access and authority. So I exchanged all of the craziness, all of the foolishness, all of the things that I was carrying for access and authority, the things that God had for me, right? And so that was our great exchange in that moment, right? And so we left that place encouraged. We left it empowered. We had had an experience, right? And they left with their keys. These keys stay in my purse. I keep it in my purse so that when I'm searching through my purse, I come across these keys. I've heard testimonies of people putting them in their office and they keep them on a shelf. Why? Because they need to remember there's a great exchange that was made. So that whenever they're facing certain obstacles, even with my clients, some of them that came to the great exchange, when they call me, I say, where are your keys? What do you mean, coach? I need you to go get your keys, so because I need you to remember you have access, you have authority. Because when you make an exchange, now when you take that clothing back to the store, you don't get to take it back home with you. You don't get to go to the store, exchange it, and then you taking everything back. No, you get to bring the new thing. Either you're going to come back home with a refund or you're going to come home with a new item. But you're not coming home with that same old thing that was not benefiting you. And so the great exchange is just that, a moment in time where you release something to God and he gives something back to you. And we do it, we have these moments all the time, but sometimes we miss them. So sometimes we are so caught up in what is, we are caught up in what we see that we miss our moment. And I want you to not miss another moment in time because you're mad, because you're frustrated, because you are whatever that emotion you're feeling right now, that you miss that moment. Y'all seen that little meme? Many of us have seen it running around on social media where they have this picture of Jesus standing there and he's asking them for this little bear, right? But behind his back, he has this gigantic bear for them. How many times have you see when I look at that, I'll be like, wow. But then I had to really think about it. How many times has the Father stood before me like that and I missed it because I couldn't give up what was in my hand. I couldn't give up what I was holding near and dear to my heart. What if you are like, what if, let's say it like this. You want to be married, right? You want to be a wife. You know you're created to be a wife, and that's your heart's desire, right? So every time you meet a guy, it's like, that's my husband. Probably not. He's no, probably not. Just probably no. Some people are this. Listen, let me just help you out. I'm wise wives build. Okay, I'm the lady that's gonna help you here. Okay, so listen. A lot of times you're being exposed to certain things. Just because you meet him does not mean you're supposed to marry him. He may not be the one. Take your time, slow down. It's okay. It's okay. I don't know where we got that, you don't have to. And I'm not saying everybody's going to have a long engagement. I'm not saying that. But sometimes you might need to have a little bit longer engagement, okay? I need y'all. Listen, especially y'all when y'all are out here. Okay, how we get here? But okay. Especially those of you that are, out here and on these apps and are meeting these people online. You don't know who you're meeting. You're meeting the representative. You're meeting their profile. They have created a profile to attract a certain type of person. And you're like, oh, I done hit the lottery. I got the right one. Oh my God. Oh, glory. And then 2 years later, you're looking like, what in the world? Because you didn't know who he was. And then you trying to exchange him for another. Okay. That's not the exchange we talking about. Okay. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is when the father was telling you, daughter, can you wait? Daughter, can you trust me? That moment that you missed where he was saying, take your time. It's okay to be in process. I'm processing the one that is for you. And if you can just wait on me and be of good courage, and to exchange that desire for his will, that's a great exchange. That's the exchange we have to make when we desire something so bad and we feel like that the clock is ticking. I'm 30, I'm 40, I'm 50, and I'm not married yet. I ain't got kids yet. I don't have, and you telling God all the things you don't have. And God is like, as long as you got breath in your body, it's still, I'm still able, right? And sometimes that's the exchange that we have to give him. I know you're supposed to be a multimillionaire by now, right? Is that what? Yeah, right. In your mind, yes. And God is saying, I have that for you. Or, or here's the thing. What if you want the multi-millions and he's saying, I got billions. Can you make the great exchange? Can you make the exchange that needs to be made? Because here's the thing. We've got to get to the point as we're changing lanes. We've got to be in the vein of the will of God. God, I want my will to align with your will. So it ain't so I don't have this internal struggle all the time. I don't know about y'all. I had internal struggles, right? Because what I wanted and what God wanted was like two separate things. What I wanted in the process to get there, I didn't want to do that. Okay? Let's be honest. Okay. I had to exchange, I don't want to. I had a strong I don't want to spirit, right? Anytime I looked at it and God was like, okay, I want you to get on a podcast. I want you to go live. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. I don't want to do that. I wanted the benefits, but I didn't want the work. So I had to make a great exchange. I had to exchange my I don't want to for his will. I had to exchange and then to understand I wasn't going to do it like everybody else. The path that he had set before me was very different. And so when you begin to make that exchange, then he begins to talk to you. He begins to tell you. He begins to empower you to show up as your authentic self. And now you begin to flow and do what you need to do as you need to do it. There are some of you that you know you're supposed to be doing a podcast. You know you're supposed to be getting on social media. You know you're supposed to be promoting your books. You know you're supposed to be ministering to young girls. You know you're supposed to be ministering to women, especially older, seasoned women. You know you're supposed to be pouring into these young women, whether they want to hear it or not. You have wisdom that they're going to need. Sometimes you just got to plant the seed. They don't want to hear. It don't matter if they want to hear or not. You just keep on telling them. There was a day I had to make a great exchange. I remember there was a mother in our church. Her name was Mother Horn, and she used to come and she used to tell us every Sunday. We were teenagers. Bless the Lord. We was teenagers and all of our feelings and emotion ball of emotions, but we respected her. And when she walked up to us, she would tell all the guys how handsome they were. All the women, all the girls, she would tell us how beautiful we were. And I'm like, child, mm-mm, mm-mm. And one day I woke up and I looked in the mirror and I saw what she saw. I saw what she was calling forth. I saw what she was speaking to, because while everybody else was speaking to our now, they were speaking to us as teenagers and what we were doing and how good we were not and what we were not doing and what we were not going to be. She was speaking to our future. And sometimes, y'all, we got to exchange our now for our future. We got to be willing to sacrifice now for the future. Financially, sometimes you've got to make the great exchange. You've got to be like, listen, this momentary affliction, I'll take it for a greater weight of glory. The great exchange. And so when God said in John 3:16, he said, he gave his son for us, right? Can you imagine giving listen, I don't know too many people gonna give their son, their only begotten son, to die for people that would reject him. Because some of y'all won't be honest about your walk. Some of y'all are going to be like, oh, the first time I heard the salvation message, I was born in the church. I gave my life to Christ. I never did anything bad. Okay. Okay. That's not my story. That's not most of our story. Most of our story is the first time we heard the salvation message, we did not come to the altar. We did not open up our heart. We did not accept the gift. And even if we did at 8, 9 years old, by the time we got 16, 17, 21, we had to go out. Listen, we just had to go out and get a testimony. That's all I'm gonna say. Some of y'all just went on out there and you got your testimony, and praise be to God that you came back. Especially if you grew up in the church, you went out and had some experiences. But there was a great exchange that was already made for you before you were even born. And so every October, that's what we do. We come into that space, we bring women into that space to make a great exchange. Whatever that thing is that you've been carrying, past trauma, past hurt, um, my marriage is complicated. My marriage is good. I just need to be around some other, I just need to be around some other females, right? Listen, ladies, sometimes you just got to get around some sisters, some people that you ain't got to explain. You just come in and be like, and just breathe. And we get it. We get it. We hear it in your voice and we understand without any explanation or any words needing to be said. We just going to support you. We're going to wrap our arms around you. And that's what God does for us in the exchange, right? We give we give him something and then he gives us something. You give him chaos and he gives you peace. You give him trauma, he gives you triumph. You give him all that fogginess and he gives you clarity. There is an exchange. And so for those of you that have experienced it, I want you to come back and I want you to see me. For those of you that have never experienced it, I want you to come this year because I just believe it's going to be phenomenal. We call it the war room. Okay. So let me explain to you what the war room is, right? So I know we all saw the movie and, a lot of you changed your closet into your war room. It's where you go in and you listen. Okay, let me just say this to some of y'all. Some of y'all gonna have to fight outside the war room too, okay? Some of y'all need to come out of your prayer closet and be amongst the living, okay? Because some of y'all have made that prayer closet and your husband, yeah, your children, they are resenting God because you spend all your time in the prayer closet and you can't be a mom, a wife, or a human being in real life. So sometimes you got to make an exchange with God, right? Because here's the thing, God never calls me into my prayer closet, my prayer time with him, and not deposit something. There's instructions that are being given. That's the exchange. You come in and you give him your problems. He should be giving you answers. Okay, let's keep it moving right there. Yes. He should be giving you some answers, which means go in there, pray, posture yourself, do what you need to do. But he should have given you some instructions to walk out here on earth. Okay. I love y'all. I do. Okay. Get back on track. On track. All right. The great exchange. Okay. So even in that, even in prayer, we're making an exchange with God. We cast all our cares upon him and then we take his yoke upon us, right? That we're constantly doing this. But that means there's got to be a release that takes place. And for those of you that are not looking at me, for those of you on YouTube, you can see me. If my hands are like this and I'm balled up like a fist, God cannot drop anything else in there. For the great exchange, there has to be a release. I've got to be able to release all the stuff that I'm holding on to so that he can place even more. And sometimes, y'all, listen, favor. Some of y'all are like, I need this money. I got to get this back. Let me tell you something about favor. The great exchange, okay? The favor of God can do more than money can do. The favor of God will take you in places and give you things that money cannot buy. You won't have to have a dime if you got the favor of God on your life. So it's time to make the great exchange. To be able to come in and get what you need from the Father. And so normally we do that in October. This year we're having it October 2024, the 11th and 12th. And I invite you all to be my very special guest at the Great Exchange. Okay. We have some phenomenal people that are coming into the war room, back to the war room, right? That you have this space that you come into. Military war rooms is where they bring all the generals and all of the key people that are in a battle, right? They bring the key people together so that they can strategize concerning the battle. That's what we do. We come in and we give you strategy on how to overcome. I'm the victory coach. My job is to get you from where you are right now and to get you to the other side and stay there. I want you to stay on the other side of this thing. The only time we come back through is when God has said, go over there, get them and bring them out and come back. That's the only time. Otherwise, we get to the other side. But even when you have to do that, right? My shirt, for those of you on YouTube, it says Wise Wives Build Special Forces, right? That's special forces. And so when you are a part of special forces, sometimes you are called to go into enemy territory, extract. Hear me. We ain't go to stay. You go into enemy territory, extract the asset, and bring them home. And those plans and things are initiated in the war room. And so we come into the war room every year to get strategy, to get downloads for our next mission in God. Now we laugh, we cry, we listen, we do all the things, but it has purpose. There has to be an exchange. But we can set the stage. We can prepare for you. One, you got to make a decision to get in the room. Number two, when you come in the room, you got to make a decision before the Father to say, listen, I want to make the great exchange. I'm not coming into this place to leave the same way. I'm not coming in here to leave without answers. I'm just not going to do it, because sometimes you got to be put in the right environment, right? Remember when we talked about the Mad Hatter and we talked about we have to be able to, sometimes we got to get out of a toxic atmosphere and get into an atmosphere that's conducive. And that may mean you have to go some places that you have never been before for a great exchange. So that's what the great exchange is all about. We make them on a consistent basis. I just happen to be, God honored me with the assignment to, I didn't always see it as an assignment on transparency. I was just like, oh, you want me to what? But it's been amazing to see women come in and their lives to be changed. Some people come one year, some people come every year. But it's also a place for maintenance. Maybe you're the person that serves everybody. You give it all to everybody else. Where do you go to get poured into? Where do you go for somebody to wrap their arms around you and just love on you? Where do you go that you don't have to serve, that you can sit? I invite all ladies to come join me at the Great Exchange 2024, October 11th and 12th this year. Um, it's going to be absolutely, not because it's my event, but literally, God has told me it's going to be amazing, that people will be propelled, they will be catapulted from that room. That things that have been stagnant and still, that you will have the strategy that you need when you leave that room. And then this year, the theme is becoming one. This year's theme is becoming one. And so we're going to talk about becoming one with yourself, bringing all your pieces back together, becoming one with God, getting that right alignment. And then we're going to talk about being one with others, because we know that, we all want to become one with our spouse. We do, you know. And the two shall become one. And it sounds so wonderful and beautiful, right? It does. And when we get married and we have the wedding, at the wedding ceremony, and all of the fun things that we do to exemplify the two shall become one. And then you realize you got two broken people trying to become one cohesive unit, and it hurt. It hurts. Take two pieces of glass and try to put it together. Somebody gonna get cut. I'm just saying, we gonna get cut. And so we're gonna talk about navigating through some of that, because if we become, when we are healed, because listen, this is my heart. One of my mountains of influence is family. And I need us to be healed. Okay? Hear my heart. I need us to be healed. No longer can we have a broken wife and a broken husband trying to come together to make a whole marriage. It's not going to work. I need a whole wife. I need a whole husband coming together to make a whole marriage. Broken wife cannot be expecting a whole husband. A whole husband cannot be, a broken wife. Listen, it's not gonna work. Somebody gonna get cut. I'm just saying. And so we're walking through this place of healing. It's time to heal. Okay. So get to the Great Exchange. Thank you guys so much for listening to me today, as we have been talking about the Great Exchange. All of that information, along with my email address, as well as my website, www.thecassandrawilliams.com. All of that information will be in this episode's show notes, so that you can register. You can get in contact with me to find out more information if you need that. But come join me, all right? And until I see you next time for another episode, have a good one. Bye.